The moment everything changed began on a quiet afternoon when the ceiling fan in my cramped rental room rattled like it was tired of spinning for people who were tired of surviving. I had just come back from another long day of work, shoes dusty, shoulders heavy, phone silent, when I realized the loneliness wasn't just something I felt at night anymore. It followed me into the daylight, sat beside me while I ate cold food, and stared back at me from the cracked mirror as if asking how long I planned to live like this. I didn't know then that a simple offer, spoken softly in the middle of an ordinary day, would unravel the weight I had been carrying for years and remind me that sometimes kindness arrives from the most unexpected place. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen between ordinary people, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. My name is Aarav, and at 27, I was doing everything right and still falling behind. I worked a daytime warehouse job that paid just enough to keep me afloat, shared groceries with my roommate Theo when we could, and pretended I didn't notice how often the future felt like a door slowly closing. Theo was easy to live with, kind in a distracted way, always busy with classes and part-time shifts, and his mother, Marisol, visited often during the day when she was off from her nursing rounds. She had a calm presence that filled rooms without effort, the kind of person who noticed when plants needed water and when people needed rest. I never expected her to notice me beyond polite smiles and small talk, because I had become very good at blending into the background of my own life. The days were the hardest. Nighttime loneliness had a reputation, but daytime was when the truth settled in. Everyone else seemed to be going somewhere, building something, laughing over lunch. Breaks, while I moved boxes, counted hours, and tried not to calculate how many paychecks stood between me and losing everything. I slept poorly, not because of noise, but because my mind refused to rest. I would lie awake during daylight naps, staring at sunlit walls, feeling foolish for being exhausted when the world was wide awake. Theo noticed I was wearing myself thin, but he was fighting his own battles, and neither of us knew how to help the other without first learning how to ask. Marisol noticed anyway. She always did. One afternoon she stopped by with groceries, sunlight pouring through the kitchen window, dust dancing in the air, the normal warmth of a day that didn't know it was about to matter. She looked at me the way nurses look at patients before charts and vitals, seeing the person before the problem. She didn't ask questions right away. She simply set things down, made tea, and let silence do the heavy lifting. That silence wasn't empty. It was patient. It waited for the truth to show itself. I don't know what gave me away. Maybe it was the way my hands shook when I reached for a cup, or how my eyes kept drifting toward the clock as if time itself was something I owed money to. Whatever it was, she saw it. She mentioned, gently, that she had an extra room at her place, empty since her sister moved away, a room that stayed bright all day because the window faced the open street and the trees beyond it. She said it like it was nothing special, like offering directions or spare change, but my chest tightened in a way that surprised me. I laughed it off at first because pride is a stubborn thing, and because accepting help feels like admitting failure when you've been pretending to be strong for too long. But she didn't push. She explained that it was just an option, that sometimes people need space to breathe, that sleeping during the day or resting without worry wasn't a luxury but a necessity. As she walked past me toward the door, she paused, leaned slightly closer, and in a voice meant only for reassurance, she told me that I didn't have to carry everything alone. The words weren't dramatic, but they landed softly and deeply, like a hand on the back when you're about to fall. There was nothing inappropriate in it, nothing crossing a line. It was the kind of care that reminds you what safety feels like. I didn't accept right away. Change is frightening, even when it's kind. But the next week unraveled me. A shift was cut. A bill arrived early. I found myself sitting on the edge of my bed in the middle of the day, sunlight on the floor, feeling like the room was shrinking. I thought about Marisol's offer, about the calm certainty in her eyes, about how she had seen me without judging me. When I finally called, my voice cracked in a way I hadn't allowed in years. Moving into her spare room felt like stepping into a different rhythm of life. The room was simple, clean, filled with daylight, and for the first time in a long while, I slept without fear, not because everything was fixed, but because someone had made space for me to rest. Marisol didn't hover. She didn't lecture. She cooked during the day, asked about my work, listened without trying to solve everything. She treated me like a person who mattered, not a problem to be managed. Slowly, the constant knot in my chest loosened. With rest came clarity. I started looking for better opportunities, updating my resume during the afternoons, when the light was strongest and my mind was calm. I applied for a training program I had always thought was out of reach. I began saving small amounts, planning instead of panicking. Theo visited often, relieved to see me healthier, lighter, like someone who had remembered how to stand upright again. The change wasn't sudden or dramatic, but it was real, and it was rooted in something simple, kindness without conditions. One afternoon, while helping Marisol in the garden under the open sky, I realized how much this safe daytime space had changed me. The loneliness that once screamed now whispered, manageable and temporary. I understood then that the offer of a room had never just been about a place to sleep. It had been about dignity, about reminding someone that they were worthy of care even when they couldn't afford it. About proving that family can be chosen through compassion, not just blood. Life didn't become perfect. I still worked hard. I still worried. But I no longer felt invisible. When I eventually moved out months later into a place I could afford with pride instead of fear, Marisol hugged me like a mother sending someone back into the world, trusting that they would be okay. And I was. Because someone had believed I didn't have to face the daylight battles alone. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a time someone helped you breathe again or made space for you when you needed it most, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps stories of quiet kindness reach people who might be struggling in silence. Special request, please comment below and share what kindness means to you, or a moment when someone's compassion changed your life. I still think about that room sometimes, about the way daylight filled it, about how safety can sound like a gentle reassurance instead of a grand promise. And whenever the world feels heavy again, I remember that there are people who open doors not because they expect anything in return, but because they understand that no one should have to sleep or live feeling alone.